All righty, glad to have you. Welcome. It's the Joe Pags Show. Great radio stations across the land, iHeartRadio, Newsmax TV, joepags.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, email. It's all right there. Gary Byrne came to mind last week because I saw a story where it turns out a lot of people went after him and said, hey, you know, when he wrote in his book about Hillary Clinton, he couldn't have been there. He couldn't have really seen that. He could not have really heard that. He was nowhere near it, not even in close proximity. And Gary said, well, I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to sit here and take this crap. I'm going to go after these people. So I have him on the line now, friend of mine, former uniformed Secret Service officer. Now, Gary, first of all, welcome back to the program, Gary.
Thank you so much, Joe. It's good to be here, as always.
Yeah, it's Gary Byrne. The name of the book is Crisis of Character. Go and get it if you haven't yet. Gary, there were people who came after you and said what you wrote in the book wasn't true. Now, you warded off the first few idiots that were coming at you because you had verifiable proof and you had backup. But I guess there were some media websites and some other sites who basically, well, didn't even basically, they flat out said he was nowhere near proximity. He could not have seen that. He could not have heard that. And he's making it all up. And you're not going to stand for it, are you?
No, I'm not. That's why I'm going to be filing a lawsuit. I'm taking the steps. We've sent letters demanding retractions from David Brock and Media Matters, from the Retired Secret Service Agents Association, and we'll also be filing the lawsuit after the election, and we'll also be notifying other people. And I've made it clear to them that I'll leave no stone unturned. I will make this right. I will restore the reputation, my reputation, and the reputation of the book, the honesty of the book.
You know, what's interesting, and again, Crisis of Character, the writer is Gary Byrne. We have him on the line, B-Y-R-N-E. Gary, what cracked me up, and it's not funny to you, I get it. Your reputation is serious stuff, and I believe every word in the book, and I believe that you have outlined exactly what your experience was, and we've talked about why you did it and whether your family was behind you doing it, and they were, and you thought it was time. But what cracked me up was the list of witnesses you're going to call as these lawsuits go forward. Please fill my listeners and viewers in on who it is that you would call.
Yeah, my list of witnesses are going to be Bill and Hillary Clinton, Leon Panetta, George Stephanopoulos, Rahm Emanuel, the former directors of the Secret Service, the current director of the Secret Service.
John Podesta too, right?
John Podesta will be one of them. So will Jennifer Palmieri. They'll also be my witnesses. All these people worked there at the time. The Secret Service employees that I named, the old directors and the present director, I actually stood post with hundreds of hours right outside the Oval Office where a lot of this stuff took place. They know this is all true, and they also know I was subpoenaed to testify about most of it.
What's interesting, and again, it's Gary Byrne, Crisis of Character. Go and get this book today. What's interesting about this is I don't think they thought that you would fight back like this. When Media Matters and other of these far left-wing media organizations go after somebody, they think they're going to shut you up or get you excommunicated from society somehow or make you crawl under a rock. I mean, you stood up and said, all right, I've got broad shoulders, bring it.
Right, exactly. What kind of uniform division, what kind of Air Force airman would I have been? What kind of uniform division police officer would I have been? And what kind of air marshal would I have been if I ever backed down from any kind of threat?
No.
You can't sit on a plane as an air marshal for 4 million miles in 13 years and be afraid of a little bit of confrontation. And they picked the wrong person to call a liar.
Well, I'm glad that you're standing up for yourself, and I look forward to you doing very well in going after them to restore your reputation and your good name. It's Gary Byrne, Crisis of Character. Gary, I heard a story, and all of you heard this story, and I'll just bring it up to you now live. I heard a story about Hillary Clinton after she did that Commander-in-Chief forum with Matt Lauer, and it was live on NBC. Matt Lauer was completely creamed to the media by being tough on both Trump and Clinton. But Clinton, the story goes, and this is, I wasn't there, I didn't see it. This is alleged by people who were behind the scenes. The story goes, because she was questioned so hard about the emails and so on, she got off stage, went down the hall, threw her water against the wall, screamed the F word at everybody. Does this sound like something that she might do from your experience?
Absolutely. I swear, Joe, I could almost tell you exactly what she said. The only problem is we can't use those words on the radio.
Right.
That's exactly her behavior. That is it to a T. And I saw the same story, and that information came from the technicians that were there. They heard everything. And yes, I absolutely believe that that's what happened.
Well, Garrett, you and several others have come out now since 2000 when the Clintons left the White House and have talked about her demeanor, her temperament, her anger issues. Why though do you think more people haven't done that? Why do you think more people? Because they listen from the old Arkansas days, and sure there is a story here and a smattering of a story there, but why aren't there dozens of people, even hundreds of people, stepping up to say she is just not a very nice person?
Right.
You think they're afraid of her?
Yeah, I do. I think in some cases in Arkansas, it's different when you're the first lady and the governor of Arkansas in a smaller area. You have less avenues, to get your message out, and they crush you. And in some cases, they pay them off, allegedly, and in some cases, they stay with them. For instance, what stories do you think Abedin could tell about Mrs. Clinton's behavior? I guarantee you she saw everything that I saw and more. And now that she's clearly being thrown over the side, you may hear some of this from her eventually.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because you were at the White House when Abedin and Hillary Clinton started the relationship. She'd been with her since back then, 20 years now. And obviously her right hand, obviously her go-to person. Now she's just calling her one of her staffers. Not flying on the plane, not on the campaign trail. She is firmly under the bus. What was that relationship like? Do you have any insight into that relationship? And are you stunned by how she's doing this? Or, like you said before, is this behavior that you would expect from Hillary Clinton?
This is absolutely the Hillary Clinton modus operandi. Now, I do vaguely remember Abedin first started there as an intern. And here's the thing. This is what the point I want to get across here. When Uma started working at the White House, there were 5 or 6 young women that were already there and were already Hillary go-to women.
Okay.
This woman climbed over top of them and crushed them. I mean, I can think of 3 people. I can still remember their first names. These women that would have been where she is now. But this Uma climbed right over top of them, pushed them out of the way, and stayed with her all those years. She kind of won the contest, but in the end, like everybody else who supports the Clintons to the dirty end, she's going to end up, in some real trouble.
Well, as you said, I mean, she's got an opportunity now either be, the also-ran or the has-been or the staffer, or she can be somebody who says, here's what's really going on in this campaign. You wonder if somebody who is that much of a compliment to the candidate and has been a protector of the candidate for 20-plus years, you wonder if Huma even thinks to herself, I'm going to save my own skin, or if she thinks to herself, whatever, I'll fall on the sword.
Not yet. You know what? My experience, Joe, is that it's almost like the Stockholm syndrome.
Okay.
Almost kind of like, I mean, I don't mean to say this lightly whatsoever, but almost like a battered wife should. She treats people so badly. After a while, you're afraid not to be around her. You grasp at something, you keep yourself there. Now that she's being thrown over the side, and it looks like they're going to blame some of this email stuff on her, eventually, I mean, seriously, I think she'll probably need some counseling to realize the damage that's been done to her.
It's Gary Byrne, Byrne. Get the book, Crisis of Character. Were you in the Obama administration at all? Were you there when Obama was in office?
No.
So you left during George W. Bush?
Yeah, I came in with Papa Bush, left with somebody.
Can you compare and contrast, Bush 1, Bush 2, or George W. Bush, and the Clinton administration? Was there a discernible difference for you as a uniformed Secret Service officer and the actual Secret Service agents as well? Was there a discernible, palatable difference?
Yeah, it was incredible. George H.W. Bush, had been the ambassador to China. He'd been the director of the CIA. He had been in the military himself. He showed great respect for the military, for the Secret Service as a whole, for the uniform division. His whole family was very nice. And then, the Clintons came in, and it was, in some cases it was like these young hippies, got a job, and there were all kinds of issues that I talk about in my book, Crisis of Character, where, there were all kinds of discipline issues at first. And actually, one of the people that straightened out some of their problems and actually gave them a better chance than what they had was Leon Panetta. Okay. He took over as chief of staff, because he brought some adult attitude and some discipline to the West Wing and the White House.
Did you think of ever quitting, or do you know of any other officers or agents who did quit because the abuse wasn't worth it?
Well, in the beginning, no. But as time went on, and especially now, unfortunately, the Secret Service has always had an issue with maintaining officers in the uniform division because of the way. One of the reasons is because of the workload and the way they treat them. And then it's actually spread out in the last couple of years to the agent side too. They're losing employees from both ends in a way that it's hard for them to keep up.
It's Gary Byrne, Crisis of Character is the name of the book. Have you been able to communicate at all with the Trump campaign? I would have to imagine they're aware of you. I mean, they didn't put you up to this. We know that. You wrote the book, before we might have even known who the actual nominee was going to be. Have you conversed with them at all? Any insight on that end or no?
Yeah, like as you said, when I started writing the book, we didn't know who was going to run for either side.
Right.
Clearly, as time has gone on, I've become a Mr. Trump supporter, and I'm not working for the main campaign, but I have done. By the time the election comes, I've done 5 speeches for Women for Trump, for Mothers for Trump, and for different Republican organizations. And basically, I go and I do a book signing, and I talk about the real Hillary Clinton, and then I tell them what I know about Donald Trump, which is he was a good businessman. I'm from about 3 hours where he's from New York and about an hour from Atlantic City. He was known as a good businessman and with a good family who made a lot of money and donated a lot of money. And not until he started running against crooked Hillary Clinton did I ever hear a negative thing about him.
Well, that's the challenge. I mean, you're going and speaking to women, which is great because Hillary Clinton's card, and she's glad to play it, is the fact that she's a woman. And Hillary Clinton, for some reason, simply because she happens to be that sex, that gender, she assumes she's going to get the woman vote, which is interesting because Hillary Clinton pays women less than she pays men, always has. Hillary Clinton doesn't employ thousands of women. Donald Trump does. I mean, there are women at the top of his corporate ladder. But the idea is he's a man, doesn't like women, misogynist. Here, listen to this videotape or audio from 11 years ago, and Hillary Clinton's looking out for women. If the women who are planning to vote for her, in your opinion, heard how she treated you and others, whether they were a man or a woman, do you think that would change their minds about how they're going to cast that vote?
I hope it would, because I hope most Americans have a positive or decent feeling and respect for somebody who was in the military or in law enforcement. This is a woman, as you well know, Joe, we've talked about it before, who clearly despises the military and clearly despises law enforcement. I mean, I tell many stories in my book of her yelling and cussing at the Secret Service. And
trying to fire you guys several times. I mean,
Exactly. She did. She berated the President of the United States for 40 minutes trying to get us fired, to the point where he actually had to defend us. And it was one of the most bizarre arguments I ever overheard from them. It was crazy.
It's a stunning story. Gary, we appreciate the time. We appreciate the book, Crisis of Character. Go and get it right now. It's Gary, Byrne. Let's talk again, my friend, and we'll see if, a week from today, the result is what we want.
Anytime. Thank you so much for your time, Joe.
All right, brother. We always appreciate that. It's Gary Byrne. Make sure you go and grab that book. And again, here's a guy that is unafraid. And I talked about this before. He's unafraid to Gary, he put on the witness list President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, John Podesta, Leon Panetta. He's got a list. I mean, come on, man. I think that they rattled the cage of the wrong guy, because I don't think these media outlets thought that he would fight back like this, and I love that he is. 1-800-383-9624, joepags.com. Stay right here.